So we've completed the first half of our journey up the Western Front from kilometre 0 up to Verdun. Most of the perceptions of the Western Front from the British point of view is that it's basically northern Germany and Flanders, but actually there's been a huge amount of interest from Verdun down to the Swiss border. A couple of corrections from yesterday. I've referred to Verdun battles being in 1914. That was clearly rubbish. It's 1916. Lay in bed last night and absolutely hammered down with rain for about 8 hours, and I thought, as we were cosily in our camper van with nice Gore-Tex clothing to wear, what it must have been like in a trench with nothing vaguely waterproof, heavy woolen clothing and just running water and rats. Must have been the other only option was getting up and getting killed. Very salutary. Anyway, we're heading off today up towards the regions of the Marne and towards Champagne and the various interesting sights to be seen there after that. Yeah, so we're now in the Argonne region, and this, as you can see, is all basically heavily forested, hence the forest of Argonne. Very difficult terrain, lots of ravines and lots of woodland, and it became a scene of basically a war of attrition between the French and the Germans right the way through from 1914 to 1918, and this is the National Necropolis of St Thomas on Argonne, with a rather fine memorial ossuary on the other side of the road. But effectively there was really no, once the Germans had retreated from after the first Battle of the Marne and entrenched themselves in the northern part of the forest, it was just a war of attrition with gas, mine, shelling and killing. And this is just one of the many cemeteries. Here we are at Camp Moreau. Sadly, it's not a weekend and therefore we can't get in, but basically you can get a rough idea. This was a camp for R&R for German soldiers, just behind the lines, which I think was probably much appreciated. Now at the Massage, which is a network of trenches, but also these various memorials. There's an American one here because the Americans came through in September 1918, which was effectively the beginning of the end of the war. And that was a sort of the later battles of Champagne. And various little personal memorials put here by families, presumably. And then you can see over here remnants of all sorts of trenches which we'll walk around. And here you can see two massive mine craters. Barbed wire entanglements, a good example of how they worked. Basically crossed struts with barbed wire wrapped around. I'm now walking down into the trenches themselves. This would have been presumably a machine gun post here. Just walk down through the trenches. Obviously, a degree of reconstruction that's gone on, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what it was like. I just duck to go under here. And this would have been a mine shaft. Those two craters there, which they would have dug the mine beneath. And this is a ventilation machine. Inside observation post, you just had a little slit to look out of. This is the outside of it here. These trenches are largely occupied by the Germans, and there's some little pictures here of a soldier being shaved. Well, another soldier looks on. And just to show how recently bodies have been identified, here we have. Here's the recovered German soldier, unidentified, and this was in October 2012. And just here, about 6 foot away, an unidentified French soldier, colonial infantry, same time. And listed all around are the remnants of war, so all the wagon wheels, which presumably would have been for the heavy guns. And here we have heavy gun in situ, which was a 77mm German cannon. And as it describes here, 1,000-kilogram shells in the range of 8,500 metres, which is about 5 miles, and a fire rate of 5 a minute. Quite a lot, really. The shells weighed 1,000 kilograms, and the gun itself weighed 1,000 kilograms, or effectively a metric ton. Just scanning over here, it really gives you a fantastic impression, because no trees. That's what it would have been like, and all these trenches, a whole complete network of them, changing hands numerous occasions during the course of the war, with hand-to-hand fighting, gas attacks, shelling. Imagine peering over the top here, eventually having survived a whole lot of machine gun fire, arriving in these trenches, seeing a load of bodies. And a line of dugouts here, remnants of old stretchers. And sundry paraphernalia, drinking bottles. Presumably a cooking stove there. And then there's lots of spades. And so we walked around. 2 more unidentified bodies found as recently as 2012. Colonial and French colonials. And dugouts here. 1 or 2 beds, presumably these would have been commanding officer quarters, a little stove and washing area. There's a view up onto effectively no man's land from the trench, give an impression of climbing up over the edge of the trench over the battlement, and then having to get through all that wire, while at the same time as being probably gassed and shot at. Now walking into to be presumably underground courts. Unfortunately, there are no signs saying what everything is, but these are German built, and you can see very substantial. There's a heating stove here. I'll just walk through. Pretty tight tunnel. Oh, good for your back. Let's look out there, right over the Ain Valley. So very commanding. Another observation turret. And climb up on here. Just a fabulous view across the battlefield. Again, just to reiterate what an extraordinary vantage point this hill had all the way around. And so you can see why it's so fiercely contested. And if you're attempting to take the hill, climbed up the top, and you eventually get to this lot. And this is the little narrow gauge railway system I saw earlier on, complete with points and a little carriage there. And possibly would have been canteen areas. Cooking pot. And eau potable, that's the drinking water for the troops, brought up on the equivalent of a gun carriage. And some static tanks. And this would be the regimental aid post. The Red Cross there. And stretchers inside. Doing what would have functioned as a rudimentary operating table. And a ward there. Straw mattress. Table set up with drinking. This is the interpretation centre of the battle or the war in the Marne region in 1940, right the way through the war. It really is fantastic inside. Hidden away, you wouldn't have to hunt to find it. It really gave a very good description of the personal lives of soldiers in the trenches at home and the strategic plans of the various battles.